Good morning, hello, wow, lots of people here already. This is pretty freaking cool. Hello, I'm Odin. You guys know that because you're my awesome Patreon members who are here early because you guys subscribe, and I really appreciate that a lot. Subscribe to Patreon specifically. So for anybody watching in the future, the first 45 minutes of this stream was exclusive for my Patreon and Discord members. If you want to get in on live streams early, if you want to be able to talk to me or Felicia, who is not here today, at any time, then please check out patreon.com/Odin Makes. And join the Discord level, and you'll be able to talk to everybody you see in the chat right now, as well as me, pretty much all week long. Yeah, this is cool. Let's see. Why is this cool? You're excited. Well, I'm excited because... Why am I not zooming? I'm blind with my glasses off. I want to zoom in so I can see the chat window. Oh, there we go. There we go. Alrighty. We've already got a bunch of activity in the chat, which is really cool. Thank you, guys. So, hello to Dan Does Junk. Thank you very much for being here, Dan. Hello to Adam Trubino, who was the first one to pop in on my chat. Hello, Adam. I pronounced your last name wrong. I'm very sorry. Jerry Kent Cosplay is here, which is very cool. James Allen is here. Steve D. and Shady and Shockwoman, who are all here. And Shockwoman has made sure that the link has been posted not just at Discord, but also over on Patreon. So anybody who subscribes to the Patreon at any level can see the live streams. But if you get to the Discord level on Patreon, then you get to be able to talk to all of us easily as well. What's happening today? Today, oh, you know what I didn't do? One thing I forgot to do was grab the proton pack out of the frickin' tote that's in the side where the proton pack is in here. What's happening today? Today, Felicia's not here because last week, both of us were sick. So last week, we wanted to stream. The plan was to stream on the 7th, immediately after SAC Anime. Neither one of us could do it. We were both, exhausted, horrible, face-straining sick. From totally different things, right? I guess we were both at SAC Anime, so maybe that's where the crud came from. But otherwise, I didn't see her for a week. Today, she's not here because she got to do a fun trip down to LA on Friday night, coming back yesterday, because the movie she helped work on here in Sacramento had its premiere in LA, and she got invited to go because she was part of the crew. This was the awesome movie that she is helping. I actually have no idea how awesome the movie is. The movie could be a heaping pile. The awesome movie is awesome. It was fun because I got these frantic texts from Felicia a couple years ago about, Odin, we're going to blow up a bank. What do you have suggestions for how to do this? It's paraphrasing. That's basically what it is. And what's cool and fun about that is I know Felicia, I know what she's doing, and I know that it isn't as literal as it sounds, but it is. And what's funny is a lot of the suggestions I had, which was blow paper around. Basically, you're going to blow around, Fuller's Earth or other huge dust clouds and blow around papers, is pretty much what they told her on set. When an explosion goes off outside of all the fire and the smoke, which they were going to add in post, what you see is the concussive force of the explosion that stirs up the air and pushes everything around. Basically, a leaf blower. No joke. And so that's more or less what they did as far as I remember. Double check here. Oh, sweet. Dan's got a Vegas trip. Super Monkey's here. Did they use the script for the papers? Oh, God, I hope so. Oh, I love when they do that. I know I've talked about this before, but... So I'm helping out Joe Gillis shoot a project that never got off the ground that involved a spaceship and jettisoning an alien out of a airlock. Yeah, pretty much, the scene from Aliens. Not quite, but pretty much. So we built a set which was dressed up the inside of a roll-up door on the inside of a... It's like a roll-up door of any tilt-up concrete building that you guys in the States have seen. It's the inside of a shop door. It's just a big door that a truck can come through, right? Nothing special at all. So we dressed up the sides so you couldn't see the concrete sides and had sci-fi elements to it. Made this like jagged tooth thing so it looked like it, does this when it closes, right? So there's this little tray across the bottom and another set of teeth that kind of came down next to it. I think it actually did this. It didn't actually, go together, to hide the fact that it was just the bottom of the door. And then we painted a big like 4 or 12 or something on the back of the door of the shop itself because, docking bay 12, aliens. And so we ran into exactly that problem. Okay, we could open up the door, and the only thing on set is the alien itself, who's supposedly getting sucked out the airlock. And we did a couple different things to do this. The actor in the alien suit, which was a parody of the xenomorph suit, right? Laid down on his stomach. We put him on a desk chair that didn't have a back on it, so it just had the rolly wheels. And then with a rope, we pulled him towards the door in one shot, and then cut to like his hands grabbing the thing, and then cut to him outside of the thing, because remember, we built the little teeth that at the doorway, so the chair couldn't roll all the way out. So then we put the chair on the green screen mat in the parking lot outside. This is at night, so we can control the light. With him holding on to the little fake bar thing, the little fake loading dock teeth, and then just swung the chair back and forth. I think literally me by his feet in a green suit. I was swinging the actor back and forth to make him like, I'm being sucked out the airlock, right? And 2 takes. And Joe is looking at it going, we're missing an element, and he can't really think of what it is. I ended up literally saying, well, why don't we take some paper and a leaf blower and blow it out the loading dock door to show that air's going out around him, right? We didn't have anything else really lightweight. We didn't have, pieces of foam or other things that would go easy, but paper would go easy. It wouldn't hurt the actor, wouldn't hurt me, and wouldn't hurt the suit. So, okay, great, we'll do that. We had a cheap plug-in leaf blower. And the only thing we had literally was the script. So did that, blew it out. It all worked. It was a green screen nightmare. It looked like crap, but it was funny and it mostly worked. Project didn't go anywhere. I don't have the video. I can't share it with you. 3 weeks later, I'm watching Stargate SG-1. They're on Thor's spaceship on Stargate, which I don't remember the name of the ship. I think it's Mjolnir, but I don't remember the name of the ship. And exactly that happened. For whatever reason, they had to open up the airlock to blow, replicators out or something. I don't remember what alien they had to blow out. And as the replicators or aliens or whatever it was left the ship, papers, regular letterhead paper, right, American letter printer paper, blew out with them to help show that air is moving out too. From an alien spaceship, in space, nowhere near Earth. Why was there printer paper on this ship? Okay, so Thor's been working with the U.S. Air Force. Maybe he's gotten some files, but still. Okay, anyway, because blowing paper around usually isn't a big danger to the actors, and it's a really easy way to show that air is moving. That's why they did it. But don't think too hard about why there was printer paper on Thor's ship Mjolnir. Anyway. Thank you for that little trip. What am I doing today? I am flying solo because Felicia, I told you that, was doing the movie she helped out on. She got to go to the premiere. She is dead tired and still not 100% healthy. So she'll be back in 2 weeks, we hope. Next weekend I'm going to be at KaboomCon. The weekend after that, we're going to be back live streaming again here. So it'll be the last Sunday of September. And she should be back with stories, which would be really cool. And seeing activity people probably helping me. Oh, Ralph Warwick is here. Sweet! Hello, Ralph! I have surgery on the 29th, gonna rip some teeth out. As long as you're paying a dentist to do it, Shady, that's good. You're not gonna go out in the shed with a pair of needle-nose pliers, right? James Allen is on vacation until the 27th of the month. Did they use a script for the papers? So hopefully Felicia will be back in 2 weeks. I'm going to be at KaboomCon because KaboomCon is Friday, Saturday, Sunday next weekend, so I'm not going to be streaming at all. But what I am going to be doing at KaboomCon is what I'm trying to do today. What I'm going to do today, and I got to shut up and get going on this, is I want to make a pair of Ecto Goggles out of EVA foam. And you know what I was going to do? I was going to record this, but I don't have media in any of the cameras, so that's not going to happen. What do we got? Do we have a... Gonna zoom in on one of the cameras. Sorry, I had to step out of the way for a second. So what I've got is just a pair of Ecto Goggles. These are 100% cut from foam. The base of the lenses are PVC pipe. You can see the printing there. And I did also laser cut. Wow. Trying to do this so I can catch the light because I did when I didn't mean to, but now that I want to, there it is. I do have acrylic lenses glued into the pipe. But I did the horrible thing and used super glue late last night when I was rushing, and I fogged the lenses. This is why you don't use super glue to glue acrylic into things, because all this white fogging down here, this is caused by super glue. That's what super glue does, and it's permanent. That's not coming off. That's scoring and everything else on the lens. That's permanent. But don't care because this is the prototype. There was a thought of maybe trying to use some 3D printed elements with this, like maybe printing some of the focus knobs. What would be the battery cover? I'm not pointing right. What would be the battery cover on the real original pair of night vision goggles? But ended up not being too hard to 3D print those. There are other things that are currently missing that, I mean, not too hard to laser cut those, so I didn't 3D print them. We did 3D print a bunch, but I'm looking at just using pure foam because that's my thing. Thank you, Shop Gremlin, for helping me with 3D printing these parts. There are a few other elements that are not going to be foam, that are going to be true found objects. These holes, snaps go on the original prop, and they're still visible in Ghostbusters. So there's snaps here because this whole inside has got this big, soft, like night mask, you know, kind of like cushion thing that goes against the wearer's face. They didn't use that for Ghostbusters, but the original night vision goggles had snaps where most of these holes are, like here, 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 and up here. All of them, but this hole here, and this hole here were snaps facing this direction towards the face, because this big cushioned plush, basically, face mask went there to block out light for the user. On this side, this had a snap on it because this is where the headband went, and then these had snaps, and that's on both sides, because that's where this is where the headband went when we're wearing it just on your human head, and this is where snaps went when you attach this to your standard issue Army helmet, or whichever helmet, your tactical helmet, I guess. And then there's a snap that went up here, same thing. That's where it helped attach to the helmet. Now, what was fun for me looking at this is, there's things here that are different from what I saw on the screen for Ghostbusters. This was patterned after a 3D printable object that Ace actually pointed out to me. And so I went with that. Using Tinkercad, I was able to look at the parts that were going to be 3D printed and get outlines of what certain sections were, and then transfer those 2D outlines. It's literally just if you were to slice right through a certain section, or slice right through a section, I could see that section and how those pieces looked related and what their sizes were. And I brought all those sliced pieces into Inkscape because they're just SVG files, where I then reworked all the measurements, and then taking into account how thick my foam was going to be to create the parts that I wanted to make in order to laser cut them, because I was going to need to make a few out of EVA foam. So I did start with a 3D printed object, but it was never with the intent. It made it easier for me, right? Even if I didn't have a 3D printed object, I could have either wildly guessed, or which, looking at it now, I could probably guess this, but when I started with it, this whole face cup thing would have been a nightmare. Shock Roman actually ended up 3D printing the file, which helped, So trying to figure it out, I was able to get some more information from the 3D print, namely getting some patterns off of what the face cut parts are, and I can actually see how things related. And what's interesting to me is this print specifically has holes here, which are not in the 84 movie. Doesn't have holes up here. My camera just went weird. Doesn't have holes up here, which are in the 84 movie, because this is where the serial plate was for the original night vision goggles. It's probably just they modeled it after a slightly different model number than the one they use in Ghostbusters, but it was hi, sorry, I'm one out. But it was camera's acting up again. The cord's probably loose. It was just a difference of what model the two of them used. It's the right overall shape, so I am in no way criticizing or knocking what this creator made because made it is a word, what this creator made, because it is accurate to what reference images they had. It's just, it happens to be there's slight tiny differences between this and what was in the movie. Oh, Marvel guy, hello. Janie doesn't need monkey to pull them. Oh, wow. Schultz's youngest son is 7 years old. Oh, and so is Jerry's. Cool. All right, so what I want to do here. So, of course, in the movie, we're going to go still, cut. You know, this is like one of the best images of it. What I don't have made yet are those little silver knobs. Which ones are we talking about? The ones that are poking off the side of the lenses. Okay, his lenses are kind of dirty and scuffy too. The adjustment knobs, those are actually part of the original scientific lenses that they used. It helps to adjust where the lenses are. It's a little, you know, it's a little tightening screw. You tighten it or loosen it, it allows things to adjust, and you tighten it up, and it holds that focus for macro photography and things. But what was fun to me was looking at this side view coming out of the. This is coming out of the elevator when they get to the hotel to take care of Slimer. You can't see it terribly easily, and I don't really have the ability to zoom in here. But if you look at the side, there's two snaps. You got the head strap that's going to a snap just above Dan Aykroyd's ear, and just underneath that strap is a section which has two more male snaps on it. That's where the straps would attach if you're wearing the night vision goggles on your army helmet. But on the 3D print one, the creator had put these two extra holes for screw holes or something. And this caused me some stress last night, trying to make sure that this specifically was on the right side. And then the holes were lower because that's where the snaps went, because that's where they are in the movie. And then I looked closely, and the two little holes, the non-snap, they're not there. That model doesn't have it. So the new one I cut out this morning doesn't have those holes. Should make that a little bit easier. And then it's a little hard to get a good shot of the left side of the goggles. Is this one going to be okay? Not really. But throughout the movie, is usually a lot of dark, being able to see the left side of the goggles. They also don't have that double set of smaller holes. But if you look really closely, you might be able to see a little bump towards the front of the goggles. He only has that front snap. On his particular pair of goggles, once they were filming in the hotel, the back snap was no longer in place. I find that kind of stuff fun. I like that one because he just activated his wand and it lit up his face. And you can see underneath the front left corner, nothing is there. Why is that important? Well, there's a hole here that's in the 3D model and is actually on Aykroyd's as well. There's a hole here. On the original night vision goggles, this is the on-off switch. It's like an inverted pawn chess piece kind of. You pull it down, and then you can select, on, off, night vision, whatever, and you push it back in so you can't accidentally turn it on and off. But it's this big, obnoxious, it's designed so you can grab it while you're wearing gloves in the 70s. So that piece is missing once they get to the hotel. I don't know if we can see it here, but if you look in the same corner, this is on location in New York during the montage of catching all the ghosts after the hotel scene. But that power button is on these Ecto Goggles in New York. I remember reading about this on Ghostbusters Fans, and it was fun to see it and find it for myself. So that button or that knob was there earlier in the movie, earlier in production, but didn't make it once they moved to LA to do the finish shots. I'm going to go ahead and leave it off because I'm going to go with a hotel pair. The other thing that I thought was really interesting for me, here's a shot maybe where we can see, you can see the hole up there in the upper left, as well as the words are still there for the power selection choices, right? And then that big dial over his right eye on the left side of the goggles, from your point of view on the screen, that's the battery cover. You would actually unscrew that, and that's where the specialized dry cell battery would go in to power the goggles. But yeah, not there. Removed, fell off, whichever. Probably removed intentionally. Whoops. Get back to this. The other thing that I'm not doing today, as I'm talking my way through this and losing all my time, is the head strap. The head strap is interesting. There are very detailed files, both with the 3D print file, online, and even Bill Duran did it with his model. I did watch his video as well, or at least scrubbed through it, because he did an awesome Ecto Goggles build, which was done with a 3D printed shell. He machined his own parts. He did a really spectacular job making Ecto Goggles. And he made a very faithful and accurate pair of, or set of headbands based off of the night vision goggles, which has the two pieces that attach here with a whole bunch of hardware in the front, right? Because it's a snap piece with an adjustment piece and some loops. And then it goes to the back of the head where it has like this kind of open football shaped neoprene rubber thing that attaches to the back of the head. That's what gives the tension to hold the goggles on. Everything else is stiff backpack webbing, backpack strapping, right? So he custom cuts all those parts out, and all those plans are in place on the 3D print goggle because that's what the night goggles are. So I was planning on doing that. Okay, I need to make all these parts. I got to get all this hardware. Then I paid close attention to the movie, and I realized that no, I don't. Let's see. Can we see the back of the head here? This is towards the end, I think, before they went up to go see Gozer, and you can't quite see the. So Murray's talking to the reporter saying no job is too big, no fee is too big. And then there's Aykroyd in the very right of your screen. And you can see the back of his head. And he doesn't have the funky strap. He has an elastic strap that comes up over the top of his head to a surplus military-style buckle that is inappropriately being used as a joint connector to the horizontal strap that goes between the two snaps in the side of his visor. The first place I saw this was when they were walking into the elevator before the guy talks to him about the roach up on 12th, and I actually thought it was a safety pin. I was so excited it was a safety pin, but then I realized it was just the edge of the buckle, and I was seeing it wrong. But getting back to this side view, there is no specialized hardware. If you look at how the snap is attached to the side, it is literally backpack webbing or probably elastic with a snap in it, and that's it. There's nothing else to it. It's a piece of elastic with a snap put through it, and that's it. And the top section, which you can barely see, comes up over the top of his head. It has a wee little piece of leather on it that wraps around a D-ring, and then that D-ring, which this is a that little D-ring is then attached to the top of the goggles. So there's a D-ring piece. It's a easily purchased leather working piece. In fact, it's the same piece that's on the bottom of the lightsabers in Star Wars. Where did I put my? Here we are. It's just one of these. That's really all it is. And you can still get these at Tandy. And, sure, there's been a few years difference, and there's manufacturer's difference, and this one may not be per spec millimeter perfect to what's on screen, but that's basically all it is. This is attached with a rivet to the top of the goggles, and then that top headband goes through the D-ring. So what I plan on doing is just, I've only got a couple of these, right? So I could, if I make a hero pair for myself, I'll probably use one of these. But if I end up making multiples, which I think I'm going to end up doing, I'll have to not, because I don't have enough of these. I don't have the ability to go out and get any right now. But I do have a bag of D-rings, so I'll probably just take a piece of plumber's tape, that metal tape that's got holes in it, fold it over, gives me my hole here. There'll be a hole here as well. Oh well. And then they'll give me a flap for the D-ring, and I can attach the top strap to it. So that's it was fun for me to realize that's all it was. That as much as I wanted to look at what the night vision goggles actually were, as much as the 3D print guy and Bill Duran and a bunch of others wanted to be faithful to what the night vision goggles are, they're not. I mean, they are, but they're not. They changed a lot. Also, the side knobs, going back to, well, just trust me on this. You got the side knobs on the side. On the night vision goggles, these are open wheels. They're machined, and then they've got a hollow cup in the middle and a nut on the side, and that's all how they attach, whatever. But in the movie, they're flat. They're just total flat, like checkers, practically. And that's all they are, which is kind of cool because that's a lot easier to do in foam. I was concerned about having to create this complicated piece and 3D print it, because even this is one thing that the 3D print file got right. So I thought I was going to have to correct it to make it more like the actual night vision goggles, but it turns out no. You can see it in the stills. It's just a flat piece with ridges in the side for knurls so you can touch it. So, yeah, fun. That was a lot of fun for me. That was when I wasn't catatonic on the couch this week. This is what I was working on, and that was very enjoyable. Actually, I think I did most of this work last week. There's a few other things I'm not going to be able to do right now today. There's socket head screws that hold the faceplate on. There's a couple little Phillips screws that go here on the top. There's the little rivets that go over here that hold the serial plate that's missing on this side. There's stickers that I don't have. There's a big one that goes here and so forth, whatever. And then there's all the snaps, which I've got the snaps, but I'm not putting the snaps on until after it's painted. So what am I going to do? One, I got to shut up and start gluing. And also I'll have to cut the pipe. I didn't get the pipe cut before I got started. But hi, everyone. How's it going? Hey, it's not even noon yet. Good. Let me go back to the chat. Dan does junk. I wanted to, but you know what happened? I didn't put media into the cameras. None of the cameras are currently recording. So if I did a build video of the live stream footage, it would only be what YouTube's already encoded. So I thought I could, but I got caught up with trying to get ready for the stream, and I forgot to plan for the future. So no, unfortunately, I'm not. I could do it again after having more practice, but Shady. Talk. Shut up and start gluing. Odin's upcoming album. Stupid Monkey says, I love how they made all the gear in that movie look like it was repurposed and jury rigged. Agreed. Super Monkey also loves how I'm able to spot these little things. Thank you. That was, hyper focus. That's what I do. Okay, so what have I got going on here? The body is the biggest part that I need to build. The majority of this is going to be made out of 6mm wet the foam. I'll be able to glue it together in layers, but there are edges that need to be bullnosed, right? Rounded over. So all my parts are currently laser cut from 6mm film. Yeah, kind of. And they're all straight cuts. They're all straight up and down. But there's sections like this portion here that needs to be rounded over in the motion I'm moving of my fingers, right? And then there's other portions that need to be, like these guys need to end up being stacked. And this is a huge piece that needs to end up being ground down and become flat, because it's 6mm parts, because it was just easy. It was 18mm total, and I don't have 18mm foam. And for the side pieces, I've got 3 layers of that's backwards. The knob goes forward. There we are. I got 3 layers of 6mm foam because I don't have 18mm, but even if I only had this for 6, I didn't have 12mm foam, so it was just easier for me to work with 6mm foam, glue it together, and then I had to sand it down anyway, so who cares? And I just did some math to try and figure out what the maximum was I needed. And that is literally what I did here, right? Well, here's where it actually matches up better. So I stacked these 3 together and then ground it down. And this is what I mean by bullnosing, if you can see it. This has got a little bit of a round, soft edge to it. Every edge around this thing has been rounded over. There are no square edges on the front of this unit. Everything is kind of smooth. So I get to do all that, which means this is really good for Felicia. There's going to be a lot of foam dust today, so I'm glad that she's going to not have a horrible sneezing fit. But that also means you get to listen to a Dremel run a lot. Okay. I did do an Instagram post that I was live streaming today, so I need to be a little more careful about clicking over actually at noon. Let me set a good example. Where are my dust masks? That's not a good example if you don't know where they are. It's one of those things that I swear I just saw them. Didn't you just look in here, Odin? You're looking in here again. You think it's going to be different from last time? You know, I just like walking off screen. I really do. Also, I took my safety goggles inside, but I didn't bring them back outside. And also, more specifically, I have a fan blowing at me, which means all the dust is going to be towards my face even more than normal with the spin of the machine, so I definitely want to wear a dust mask while doing this. And I got some safety glasses. All right. Oh yeah, I'm not seeing everything here. Dan's excited about getting some more builds because he's finally got a shed in order to start building again. And he's super excited about the Devil May Cry sword that SKS Props is working on. Yeah, I agree. That thing is freaking awesome. So SKS Props is working on the Devil May Cry sword, and it is a beautiful monster sword. It is fantastic. So yeah, looking forward to that video coming out. Alrighty. Is it hot right now in my area, Schultz? Yes. It's not as bad as it has been. It's only in the low to mid 80s in Fahrenheit. It has been 100, so I'm really grateful that today it's only there. But it's going to be creeping back up to the hundreds this week, which not my favorite, especially when I commute in a truck that does not have air conditioning. All right, so I need to do this before I glue because of the amount of small areas that I'm working on that I won't be able to get into because of the size of the tool. So I actually need to do this first on a couple of these pieces. So it's pretty easy to get the one edge to round over, but I can't get the spinning tool into the corner. And there's two things I can do with this. One, say, oh well, which is mostly what I'm going to do. Mostly it's going to be, well, that's not going to happen because I can't quite get there. But I can kind of get there a little bit. I just can't get it perfect. Not with this tool anyway. I can do that, which isn't good. This is one of those tactile things that's hard to explain, but I can feel the drum catching the foam and snapping it a little bit, and that worries me. So I try not to do that too much, as well as the chance of the side of the drum catching on the side of the foam, which will scar it up. Right, so here's a piece I'm not going to use. It's pretty easy to do that, which I don't want to do, with just the corner of the sanding drum. All right. And I bet it's time to go live. I bet it's time to do the whole go live thing. I got started! Okay. Yeah, it's a little early, but we'll go ahead and start a little early because why not? All right, we're going to go edit. Here, and we're going to go visibility public, done, and we're going to add this to live stream to Ghostbusters, even though it's not a Ghostbusters Proton one, we'll stick it in that one anyway. Done. Oh yeah, one other quick thing for it, well, whatever. For all of you Patreon and Discord members, I've been talking with Joe about when we're going to do our next Beyond Geek podcast. We were going to do it last week. I got sick. We were talking about doing next week. He's getting sick, so it's going to happen, but it still might be 2 weeks out. And it's one of those things that isn't a big deal if we're sick. It just affects the voices, right? Do you really want to listen to people talking all the way through it, right? Not really. I would expect not really. I do need to get a little bigger than that. No glasses. Oh, okay. I really can't do the whole Control-Alt-Scroll-Wheel zoom thing on the chat. There we go. Use a smaller bit, Odin. No, I got a million of these. It's fine. I could use a smaller bit, but because I got a couple smaller sanding drums, but I was just happy using the sanding drum, so I was just using that. Build your own glasses. Yeah, for sure. Ralph Mark says, hello and welcome all. Hello and welcome, everybody. I'm not sure if everybody's here yet, but I have gone, I have tried to make the stream fully live and public. Stephen Hall is here. Sean Karg is here. It's worked. Yes, Stephen Hall and Sean Karg are here. Hello, guys. How's it going? Welcome to the live stream. Felicia's not here today. She's exhausted from world travels. No, she just went to LA, but still, that's quite a ways. Just got back yesterday and just not up to coming on. And then since today, I'm going to be doing a lot of rotary tool work. Rotary tool work with grinding foam and creating dust. It's like, yeah, I'll sit this one out. It's like, yeah, that sounds like a pretty good idea. But she'll be back in 2 weeks. I'll be back in 2 weeks live streaming again. For everybody else who just popped in, which is quite a few people. Lewis is here too. Right on. Next week I'm going to be in KaboomCon. This whole live stream right now is a rehearsal for me for doing the demo. I'm planning on doing a KaboomCon. I'm doing a lot more live stream yapping than I will at the con, I hope, because I think I've got less time. What is this? Rick's 93. Here's $10 for no reason. Much love, good sir. Hope your Sunday is going well. Thank you, Rix93. Yeah, much appreciated. Thank you. I do appreciate that. A lot. And what I was talking about, dumped. KaboomCon, I'm trying to do a rehearsal for building a pair of Ecto Goggles for KaboomCon as a demo. This is going to be one of the first real live demos I've done at a con. I did one way back in Dallas in like 2018. It was a disaster. I tried to make a helmet. I hate the way the helmet looked. I cut everything out, right? So here is the part that really fails for me for doing these live demos. You're going to sit there for 2 hours so you watch me finesse with a knife. You know, I could cut things out early. And actually, I think I tried doing that at the Dallas Con. But then, how many of these do I need to cut out early? Again, not a big deal, right? I should have plenty of time beforehand. Just sit down and do it. But there's that whole mental block of, I don't want to cut out 8 helmets. That's when lasers come in. And so I've spent the time to make a laser file off of these Ecto Goggles. When you guys get a chance to get back up the stream, I talk about how I did it using... did I show you that screen? Maybe I did. Maybe I should. I talked about how I used a 3D printable goggle model, and then with Tinkercad, I was able to do slices of the model, right? Shock Raymond was nice enough to actually 3D print one for me for reference. So this was the reference model that I started with, and what we ended up doing in Tinkercad, you can actually take the 3D model and push it into the build plane, right? So you've got your build plane, and then as you push your model through it, wherever the model is intersecting the build plane, you'll be able to get a outline, an SVG, a line drawing of exactly what that shape is at that point in that object in real size. And so that would give me an easy blueprint that I could look at all the pieces and how they relate to each other and then build them out. I see another one popped in, Rex. How all the pieces could build out, and then I was able to create individual parts using an SVG program and export them. Here's my laser file for my Xtool P2 for all the different pieces that I end up cutting out. Some things are color coded for different reasons. It's because of thickness or because of the color of the foam. I really like using black for my cut lines because black is going to be the default for the program. But when I'm going to use a black cut line on top of black foam, because at the very bottom of your screen, you've got like a gray window with a dark window in the middle of it. Those are the two different cameras of the Xtool showing me my build project. If I've got black foam down there, black lines on black foam are hard to see. So I made my 4mm What the Foam, those are the top right light blue ones. I made those outlines a light blue because I can easily see it against the black foam. And those parts are pretty much these parts. So that's what I got for cutting out from those light blue lines. And then I got these circles, which just dropped out of the center. But this happened to be pretty much exactly the right size for the adjustment wheels that go on the side for the lenses. Cut. There we go. So, able to make my file. There was a lot of work went into that. I spent a ton of time chewing through that. I did a lot. Back in July, I actually started making these files. I actually started exporting the SVG files and started looking at how the lenses were going to go together. And then I think it was a week ago Saturday, I spent the entire day Saturday generating all of these files. And even this morning, I realized I had errors or pieces that I had forgotten or pieces, whatever. And so I was adjusting them just before the stream started. And that's why I haven't cut any PVC pipe yet. I'll have to walk over and cut some pipe. Because I kept fiddling how the face cup shield parts fit together. Specifically, how this, because this piece is this piece, and how it fit onto the 3D thing. Because making stuff work. So doing that and looking at what the thicknesses of this was, like, get back to a close-up on you. This edge here is basically 6mm. It's within 0.5 millimeter being 6mm. The colors are just different because the filament ran out. We didn't care. So this is 6mm. So I can cut this part out of 6mm foam. But the big issue is, and what I'm going to be doing here for the next half hour, all of these are bullnosed, meaning that if you look at it, can I get it right? They're rounded. You can see how that's rounded in that direction, and then it's also rounded in that direction. Every corner on this shell is rounded like that. But when you laser cut or even X-Acto knife cut foam, it's square. So I have to take a rotary tool and actually round it all off in order to get this bullnose effect so it looks like this. Not a big deal, but that's what happens. Oh yeah, and I realized there's that here, and that's not in the hotel. Something else I talked about earlier in the stream is how in this 3D model is a slightly different night vision goggle model that the artist based his 3D model on. It's overall the right thing. He got the right model, but like Ghostbusters uses a -A and this is a -B, or they use like a -A.5 and this is a -A.8, because this hole isn't on Dan Aykroyd's. These holes are not on Dan Aykroyd's goggles. They're not there. So, and then this piece down here is actually further down. It's bigger on the one that Dan Aykroyd is wearing. So I made some changes to try and get my model to be a little more accurate to what I'm seeing specifically in the hotel scene with Slimer. Because as I read on Ghostbusters fans, because I didn't catch it myself, but I went back to go and double check it. There's like a power switch that goes over here in this corner, and that's there on the location shots in New York. But by the time production moved to LA, that was either removed, most probable, or fell off. Not quite. I believe they probably removed it to make them cleaner. Because it looks like a big fat chess piece, kind of. It looks like a squat rook that's put on here. Because it's the power switch that in the 70s you had to be able to get a hold of while wearing your tactical gloves. So I think they removed it to make it look cleaner. Anyway, I'm still getting over being sick, so... yeah. This is Odin on NyQuil. Well, DayQuil. There was, and it looks like there's a lot of chat activity. Now I saw Rex93 dropped another 10. Here's another 10 just because I can. Hope the con goes well for you. Thank you, Rex93. Rex, not Rex. Rex93 RYX. That's really cool. What are you working on, Dan? Can I do the ghost crap next? I could. Another Ghostbusters build live stream. No judgment, mind you. All good, smash up, mash up. I'm trying to rehearse for this upcoming weekend. The con itself was Ghostbusters, well, 2, but Ghostbusters themed. So I was trying to work within the theme of the con. That's why Ecto Goggles happened. Right. Oh, cool. Fat and Black Connection is going to be at KaboomCon. Right on! Sure, is going to be video. Oh, this is all talking to Dan, I think. Oh, hey, Sebastian's here. I can't pronounce your last name, from Bolivia. Right on. Hello, Sebastian. Flying through quickly. Godolip is here. Stop watching Greg Johnson Makes the Hitchhiker's Guide prop because 42. Okay. Oh, Mariah Woods is here. Hola. DJ Stumpy's talking about dismantling the W.H. Smith calculators. Is that... I thought they were... So there's a gizmo that hangs on the belt. Every Ghostbuster has this gizmo in the first movie, I believe. And that is... The close-up prop is a circuit board from a particular calculator. You can see it when they're entering the hotel, that every one of them on their belts, they are painted leather. They're leather with circuit traces painted on them, so they flex and move and don't. But the close-up prop has got, you know, the older style, was it Nixie style LED tubes. They're not quite, but they kind of are. They were just before segmented LED displays when they were still doing it a different way. I think that was the type of calculator they were using. I didn't research that gizmo, so I don't know it as well. No, that water bottle is filled with cold water. That's all. Holy goggles, Batman. Thank you, Mighty Guitar Mods. They shouldn't be running around ads on a live cast. Right. Beer on a Sunday. Okay. Thank you, Schultz Division. Spiritual AI King, the great man. Oh, right. I'm not quite sure if you're quoting World War Z or not there. Oh, so 808D Santo calculator. Yeah, Lewis knows, of course. Which I'm sure those are very difficult to find at this point. What I was doing, what I need to do in order to get this going, is I was bullnosing some parts so I can glue them together. So I got that part glued, and then I needed to bullnose. So this is the bottom, right? Because you can actually see the nose cut out down here. So this part goes in the bottom, and then this kind of fits on top and creates a shelf inside, which is why I had to, you can't see that for crap. So this is the part that goes in the bottom is the nose. And then, oh, I guess it would go this way if this is actually the bottom, because this is the switch that doesn't exist. And these holes are where the power battery cover goes. So that's the bottommost layer, which is bullnosed. Inside of that is a little shelf piece that lines up with the nose cutout. And then, I got it backwards again. But it has this flat edge, and that's where the lens frame is actually going to attach. So these two parts at this point I could actually glue together, but I'm going to set it aside for the time being. What I need to do is the top part. So the bottom is easy because it's just this 6-piece. The top part, let me get my example here, has this angry brow thing on it, right? Which is kind of cool, right? So this had to have been a design choice, not just because it was thinner. I mean, it may have just been because it was thinner to accommodate your attachment and what was available for attachment piece. But honestly, the fact that they put eyebrows on it, I don't think was a mistake. I don't think was happenstance. That's the way to put it. So to get this section to work, these were made from individual pieces of 3mm foam. So I actually need to bullnose just this section of this one because I won't be able to do that once it's glued in place. So the two eyebrow pieces, I'll need the bullnose here and here, and then I can glue it to the eyebrow plate and then bullnose all the other sections. So let me put all this crap on again. I've got a fan blowing on the side. I don't know if you can hear it, but that's going to even cause more dust to blow into my face. So aside from the rotation of the rotary tool, which will kick dust towards me, you don't quite see enough yet, but you will. Yeah, so let me go ahead and do the right thing, which I don't do often enough. And the thing I really have to try and remember, which is left and which is right. There's a couple of screws that would go into these holes. So this is the left eyebrow, and the right eyebrow is blank. It does have a couple little rivets on it, and I can just glue a couple pieces of like the foam that dropped out of these cuts. I can just cut that in half and put those on there, and that'll be just fine for those little rivets. So I need to remember that it's this side I need to do facing up, and then this side facing up. So let's just go ahead and start. I just got a sanding drum. This is the finer bit. It's like 200 grit, whatever. There's basically two grits on with the Ryobi brand sanding drums. There's a coarse grit and a fine grit, and I'm using the fine grit. Generally speaking, these tools will get you a smoother edge, but I'm just being lazy, using a slower speed and using the sanding drum because I've got more of them. that's it. Some of these things go quick. Now I can start gluing. I'm going to glue the eyebrows together. I'm going to glue the bottom pieces together. And then I've got the side pieces I will glue together. So both on the left and right side of the finished goggles, you've got this bulging piece. And I've got a double stack of 6mm foam. There's a thin one, that's the topmost part. A wider one, that's the second layer. And then this ends up being the top layer, with this hole being where the knob goes. So I'm going to glue dat to dat, dat to dat, toast to dat, and I'm going to use contact cement. Now, this is going to be fun because when I'm in KaboomCon, I'm going to be using contact cement, which unfortunately has fumes, but we will be in a big auditorium, so I'll make sure I'm doing down as down. Yeah, that's right. We'll be in a big auditorium, so hopefully it'll be okay. I did try to thin my glue a little bit, but it looks like it's still... No, actually, it was just a little goop that was on the brush. It's behaving pretty good right now. Want it thin because basically it dries faster. It still works fine when it's gloopy, but when it's thinner, it just dries faster. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go through and I'm going to paint them all right now, because it's going to take a couple minutes for the glue to dry so it can stick. Because when you're working with contact cement, the idea is you paint your wet glue on the two sides of the pieces that you're going to glue together. And then you want to give it a couple of minutes to get dry, and it gets sticky dry, not quite like a paper sticker, but very similar, and it sticks really well to itself. So by both halves being dry, you can then lay them onto each other and make it stick. So, fortunately. Now, this is one of the things that when I actually do the real one, I'm looking at getting some parts. I'm trying to judge where I need to speed things up. Okay, one is shut up and do it. But keep track of where I'm going. Once you get glue in your finger, stuff sticks. That's great fun. Dan knows that. Oh yeah, it's the side opposite of what you rounded. When I get into actually doing the proper demo, one, I need to talk like I'm at a live stream less and talk only about what I'm doing. And then I need to have some parts that are pre-made. And I can already see some things that I can do that would be pre-made that would help, but I'm trying to do this to help me determine where I need to have the cake pre-baked for the next step, so I can jump ahead without spending the precious time that I've got on that step. Because the demo, I'm not sure, it's slated for I think 90 minutes. It's on the schedule, so if you want to go to KaboomCon.com, you can see what the schedule is. I think it's 90 minutes. It might be 2 hours. But either way, I need to be mindful of the time and be sure that people don't get completely bored and leave. So here's a question for anybody out there in watching live stream land. I find that I've got a fairly tactile memory, meaning as I pick up these parts and as I'm painting on these parts, I have flashbacks, mental memories of what I was watching last night, because I sat in the living room to work on this while working on it. And now that I'm working on a similar piece, not even the same piece, just a similar piece, I'm having those memories, which is kind of fun for me. Does it happen to anyone else? Like if you're working on a project and you come back to it to pick up on it later, do you remember like the music you're listening to, or do you remember the movies you were watching or the TV shows you were watching? I remember there were some parts like when I was hand knitting my entire Wookiee suit. This was 25 years ago. No, I ended up watching like seasons of X-Files while working on the suit, and I could remember specific episodes, or if I was watching movies while doing that one and X-Files was something else, I could remember, I'd like touch a part of the suit to do something, and I would remember what I was watching while touching that part. And that point in time was one of the first times I really noticed that I did that, and I thought that was very cool. Something else I'm going to try and do today that I didn't do yesterday, I'm going to focus on the body first, and then I'm going to do the lenses. Because that feels like the right way to do it. Okay. Yes, oftentimes I do remembers. Sometimes I get deja vu too for some reason. Right on, Dan. Yeah, it's a weird, tactile, I'm doing this thing, but then I'm remembering something else I was processing at the time. Cosplay Cleric is here. Sweet. Gotta pop out, but I'll be lurking. Good luck at the con next week. Take a lot. I'll do my best, Cosplay. Thank you. Cosplay Cleric is really cool. So, as a major member of our cosplay repair group that happens at SAC Anime. Really glad to have her there. Here's K-Pop Demon Hunters. I've been hearing about this. DJ Stumpy says, this week my stepdaughter has made me watch K-Pop Demon Hunters every smeggin' day. I can't get a soda pop out of my head. Or I can't get soda pop out of my head. Gotta say, though, there's some cool possible props for you in some vids. I just saw the Corridor Crew episode where they talked about it. And it was done by the same people that did Into the Spider-Verse. And, the guys had positive things to say about it. And, it looks like there's some cool props. That's a good possible. I like cartoon props. Cartoon props are really cool. Godolip says, maybe it's memories. Maybe it's contact cement fumes. Yeah, cool. The Cosplay Killer is a very cool member of our cos family. Absolutely. Okay, here's some of the fun stuff. Contact cement is fairly strong, and generally speaking, the adhesive properties of contact cement is stronger than the tensile properties of EVA foam. Meaning that if I was to slap this down wrong, it's almost easier to cut a new piece than to pry them back apart. So I need to be careful putting them on and make sure that I put them on straight. I know you don't have the best camera angle. And then something else I'm really trying to do is keep the bottom plate flat on the table. Because I've seen this, I've done it to myself a number of times, where I'll take two pieces and one of them is curved and I glue the other one to it thinking, oh, when it's glued together it'll be flat. And then it's not flat, it's freaking bent. So I was doing my best to hold this piece flat on the table as I applied this piece with a slight curve to it. Down on top of it in order to get the two pieces to stick together, and I did my best to line up the back here, and that's actually really, I'm not upset with that. Shoot, the holes line up. I did okay. One of these days I'll learn where my cameras are. I did okay. So now I need to do the eyebrows. So let's see if I got the eyebrows. Oh, is this going to be a better angle? Sorry. Nope, that sucks. All right. This one's fun. This is going to be a horrible angle. Because the eyebrow piece hangs out further than the edge of the inside piece. So what I need to do is line it up. Let me zoom in on this one. So what I need to do is line up on this corner here, the fingers, on the eyebrow corner here. So I've got this corner and that corner. Those are the two corners I need to line up, because that's where it needs to go. Because what happens is I've got an overhang, because this catches on top of the wall when it's glued together. The nice thing is it's foam, so it's forgiving. If I'm like a millimeter off, it's not going to be, that's like out of focus, isn't it? The whole reason it zooms is a focus assist. There we are. Again, that's actually pretty good. I'm glad I've done this once before. Since it's foam, we can always grind it down if there's a little bit of something that's not accurate to. If I put pieces down misaligned. So I'm trying to feel with my thumb on the curve, as well as visually make sure the corner up here is where I want it. And I'm going to start with where I can see, and then kind of work it flat out that way. And I'm not really rolling it on there. I found that like, oh, that's the right spot, is never the right spot. And so what that gets me is I get those little soft eyebrows. This one could have been done a little more on the front here. And then I'll go ahead and, since I got these pre-glued, I'll go ahead and stick. These are the big side wedges that go on the side of the goggles. And I need to be sure that I make a left side and a right side. Thankfully, the parts are uniform. All I got to do is get the flat edges to line up, because the curved edges are the tops. Because as long as the flat edges are lining up, then the holes will line up, which aren't critical the holes line up, but it's fun and nice when it does. There we are. That one's a little bit off, but I can sand that down later. And so now I need to bullnose these pieces and do a ton of sanding to these to make these stair steps become a flat diagonal, because that's this part is this part with less holes. Let me put this thing back on.
Honestly, I'm still surprised how quickly that goes. I always thought that was going to take me a lot longer to do. I still haven't timed it out, but it doesn't feel like it's taking that long. These pieces now get glued to the side walls. These get glued to these upright pieces, and there's a hole that represents where the peg is, because there's a hole in the 3D model. It's not like I need one, but so this piece wants to line up flat there. What I'm going to do is grab a pencil, there it is, and draw a line, and that's the extent of where I need glue. And so then this one, and here's where I need to be careful, is to make sure that I'm making a left and a right side. So this side, which has got a mark on it from the foam, but it's going to get buried. I lucked out. That was not planned. I wanted to avoid that scar in the foam, but I'm lucky that it landed in a spot that's going to get buried. And I'll draw a line, and that's where glue goes on that side. Now at the same time, a smart man, which I didn't do last night and I didn't do yet today, will draw a line on this piece too, because I don't need to put glue over here. I'm going to sand all that off anyway. So put a line over here. I see there's activity. Sorry, I'm not as paying attention to chat. I'm going to go ahead and glue all the parts just where I got pencil lines at. So let me do that, and I probably should zoom out and pay attention to chat. Jerry King Cosplay, because who's back? Ad Vixen, when you said you're unwell, I was expecting more of a Bob Ross type of a stream. Right, Ad Vixen. I've gotten... this is going to be a benefit for me, especially with doing a live demo. I've gotten a habit into how I act on a live stream, and so I do that. And I think that's probably going to treat me well when I need to do this live. Mostly, it's kind of a snotty post-nasal drip issue and a wee bit of a cough. I took some Dayquil just before the stream started to help mitigate that. But I'm way better. I was foggy-headed and stupid and sick and slow all week. I'm very glad that I am not foggy-headed anymore. And I'm also very glad that as I sat out here last night working on this stuff, because the prototype one here I cut out last night. This thing is just barely 12 hours old at its point. I'm really glad that I got out here and I enjoyed myself. That was something that I generally do, but not always. And so I'm really glad that last night I was able, that was the case. I also got the eyebrows bullnosed, right? And then there's the inner piece that goes underneath the eyebrows, which again creates the shelf that the lens mount glues to. So I'm going to put glue on those to glue them together. I'm not too worried about getting outside of the lines on this because I'm getting some glue on the bullnose. It's not that big of a deal. There's ways of cleaning it up, as well as if I was to thin the contact cement more, it actually ends up being a really good sealant before plastic dipping for giving you a smooth finish. Like right now, this would be horrible. Can we get the glint on it? There, you see all the lumps and bumps from the glue. That would be horrible. But when you got brand new contact cement, or if you go and actually thin it with naphtha or xylene, and you just paint your finished piece with this thin coat of contact cement and let it dry, like completely dry, and then take it outside and plastic dip it, you can end up with a really smooth
almost glossy-like finish. It's still not glossy, but it's way smoother than the texture of the foam. Now, as a way of cheating a little bit, I'm going to speed this up with a heat gun. So the coughing isn't dust, the coughing is snot. Sean Karg, I need to get a bandsaw. I've got a scroll saw. Both are valuable. I really like the bandsaw, though, not going to lie. And I'm going to need to use it to cut the tubes. Watching time. Where am I at? Oh, okay, not as late as I thought. Because I didn't get a chance to get those pre-cut before I started. Because I'm using PVC pipes as the basis for making my lenses. And there are a few greeble pieces I don't have prepped. So there's a few, like the entire head strap. There's a few greeble pieces that won't be going on. But at the same time, if this ends up looking the way I want it to, this may end up becoming the one that I pre-paint for next week. And I'll do the final assembly of this part, of this build, next week at KaboomCon. That's really lumpy. All right. So now what I want to do is remember that I got the right ones. So there's on the diagonal piece, it's slightly wedge shaped. It's kind of hard to see. And then I bullnose this front piece. This is the front. And so this is the right side. This is the right side. And the hole is the top. So I'm going to want to line up the bottoms in this front corner. And again, I want to try and glue this to where you see how this foam cone's coil, right? Because realistically, how are you going to sell it? It's a big flat piece. You're going to roll it up into a roll so it's easy to put on a shelf. So it remembers that it's been rolled up for most of its life. So now we get to kind of fight that. And I got to remember to, as I glue it together, keep everything as flat as I can. Because if I take a small amount of extra effort now for each layer to be flat, the entire project is going to look better later. Early on, with a lot of my building, I thought it would just work out, and I didn't worry about it. And I've literally got some old props that are lopsided because I wasn't careful of that. I put, at this point, I'm rubbing. See these little tiny glue boogers? I'm just rubbing my finger to try and make them go away, because they will. It's a little bit easier if you use something Ted talked about. You use a piece of scrap. I think both Ted and Bill talked about that. Use a piece of scrap foam to clean up the glue off the surface. So okay, that's the right side. That's the right side of the goggles. That's that side of the goggles. But my new piece doesn't have as many holes. So now I'm going to do the other side. I got to remember where the camera is. This is not important to do right now. Other than I made a mess, so I really need to not have this mess here. Something else you could do is I could get Natflow or Xylene, and then I'll just wipe it right off. But I need to put gloves on, and ideally a vapor mask, because that stuff is toxic as all get out. So when you're using that particular chemical directly and by itself in its liquid form, you need to have protective vapor gear. Vaporware, not vaporware gear, but you know, more than just a dust mask on. You want a respirator. That's the word I'm looking for. That's going to protect you from chemical fumes.
This piece is interesting because it doesn't line up with all the edges. It only lines up with the forehead. It's the bull nose sticks out of the front. This is not a normal place for me to stand to hold things, so it's weird trying to remember to keep it there. Okay, so that's the top. So I've got the top of the eyebrows, I've got the nose, and I've got the left and right side. This is almost the full box for this guy. There's not much else to it. What I need to do now is come here. I'm continuing to use contact cement, one, because I like it. It's flexible. That's a big part of it. This would totally work with super glue. If you wanted to just super glue this entire thing together with all these pieces, you could do that, but super glue is not flexible. It'll give a tiny little bit, but it cracks and gives up pretty quickly. So this big flat area glues to the bottom of the nose piece, right, which is what this is. So this piece will end up gluing here on frame so people can see it, and then this piece will end up gluing over here. That's flat enough. My layers aren't millimeter perfect, but they are flat enough because you can squish it. I'm forgetting what Felicia says all the time. What the hell is it she says all the time? It's not squish it. Wow, I'm sorry. It's been a while and I forgot what she says. What's smoosh it, right? You can smoosh it. Then I will wait and do the eyebrows in a minute. So those need to dry. Yeah, DJ Stumpy says, "Ha, I'm not scared of no fumes. I'm a child of them 80s with those markers." Yeah, those markers. Yeah, I remember those. Didn't affect me at all. Yeah. So child of the 80s. Do you remember a mimeograph in grade school? Do you remember those purple? So child of the 70s, still 80s with the markers. But I can remember when before Xerox machines, copy machines were prevalent in schools, they had a device called a mimeograph that could copy what a teacher wanted fairly easily. And it was a special purple ink that did it. And it looked like a hand crank, like a old clothes dryer. You know, I don't remember the specifics of how it worked, but it had this smell. And I can remember, oh yeah, because most of the time the instructor would make the mimeographs the morning of the lesson, right? That was just, this is what I need today, or he'd do it the night before. You wouldn't smell it. I keep saying he because there was a particular teacher that did it a lot, and the teacher I had was a he, so that's why I keep saying he. But I just remember that, yeah, you'd get that smell. The school Rotary had one of those. Oh, that's good. Felicia also uses Discord, so we won't forget her face. That's good. Hello, Xanderman11. Are my weapon props still armed? Sure. Oh, right. Yeah, you probably did. Oculus Orbis. I think I saw that on an episode of NCIS where only the character Gibbs was old enough to remember how to operate it. Probably. I have not seen that, but I'm not going to... I bet that's exactly what it is. So then, I didn't speed it up because I'm trying to look at chat. Grab a piece of, let him touch. Grab a piece of scrap foam and squeegee it a little bit to try and get some of the thicker stuff off. Probably should have done that earlier. Actually, another great tip from Evil Ted is exactly that. You put some glue on, squeegee it off. He's usually using the leftover pieces from this foam. When he was doing his instructions, he was talking about using these puzzle pieces. You know, keep them as a little separate piece because you could squeegee off the excess foam, make it nice and thin. It dries faster, and then you could actually apply a second coat, squeegee it again, and you get a really strong bond from 2 thin coats of glue that dry quickly. So why aren't you doing that? Because I forget about it, because that's not the way I learned to do it. All right, now I'm going to try and glue something together that's a little tricky. What I've got is 2 different, I've got glue here, very little, so what little bit the brush got on it, and here. So I'm trying to get something into a right angle, and that's not trivial. The main thing I want to do is make sure that it lines up on the outside, so I don't have to do a lot of excess. So I'm flexing the foam. There we are. And I got a gap in the back. I didn't quite get it. There we go. So I will line up the edge. Stress the foam, so I'm bending it away so I can get this to match with the big bottom portion. I'm trying to get it to match all the way back, and then I'll fold it up and have the other side touch. Honestly, I'm seriously considering taking the cameras with me to KaboomCon, which will cause a little bit of setup, but I think that's a big part of doing this, is having a close-up of what I'm doing. Otherwise, you're going to be seeing this the whole time or even further away. All right. Now, I want to glue on the top part, which is the eyebrows. This was something that was weird to me trying to do this last night. The eyebrows fit in here somewhere. I don't really have a clearly defined place where that goes. I did a guess on this because if you look at the reference we have, and this is even within the hotel goggles, these side walls stick out further than the eyebrows. There, now you can kind of see it with the light, right? So this side wall sticks out, you know, almost a centimeter further than the eyebrow pieces. So what I think I'm going to do is take some sidewall pieces that I made today. This is the first time I'm going to do this. And I'm going to glue them on the inside of my foam piece to be this plane where the lens plate attaches. So I want to take this piece and glue it in here so it's square up and down along the edge, right? I don't care that it covers the hole. And that's going to give me a target for where this goes. Look, my piece is a little shy. I need to cut those longer. Okay, but I don't care today. Do I want to be nice to myself? No, that's still just as... I was wondering if I want to try and... Well, I maybe do it this way. If I take my ruler and put it flat into the corner... Yeah, I do, because look, these are tilted, and I didn't realize that, and that would have messed me up, because I would have made it parallel to the front. So I've got my ruler flat on the bottom piece down here, and there's my line for where I want it to glue on at, and you can see it's a little wider at the bottom than it is at the top. Something I didn't realize last night. That's the type of thing that could make the goggles or your project. Oh, no, looks like that's not the case. This side, it's going the other way. Okay, fine. I'll just make it square. That's gluing it together by hand. That just causes that. So I'll go correct this side. Darn it! I thought I found something cool. I didn't. I just found my error.
Eh. Toying with the idea of super gluing it, like it's going to save that much time. There's probably, so I'm getting glue on my fingers. I've never really worried about that. The fact that there's naphtha in this contact cement and so forth, I probably should be, but I have ran into more problems working with gloves on at this point than not. But health and safety, probably should wear gloves. Probably should wear a respirator too. With context in it. Now I'm not applying glue to the eyebrows yet because I want to be able to dry fit them and make sure they're fitting where I want them to fit. But if I apply glue now, I'm kind of committing I won't be able to dry fit anything because stuff will just stick as soon as it touches. So I'm going to line the thing up. I'm lining this this edge up with the bottom edge here, and then trying to keep it straight along my pencil line that I drew. The second one, not the first one. So I'm keeping kind of an equal line up the front, which I'm pretty sure is what the 3D model is. Remember, I bent things when I glued this piece on. The chances of it being wonky is high. There we are. And then I had tried to, I cut these to 55 millimeter, but it looks like that is a little bit short. Oh, not by much. Oh, gluing on the outside. No, wait. Oh no! Ha ha! Did I do that? I bet I rotated one of these. I need to fix an error. I rotated one of these. I wasn't careful. They're pretty square. This one's fitting the way I want it to fit. The right side. And that still fits this. But this other side does not. And I bet... Do I have an error in my file? No, I bet I laughed because I bet what I did is I flipped the piece, right? So I got it kind of glued the wrong way. So from the nose piece is 65 millimeter. From the nose piece is 68 millimeter. Yeah, okay. This is why I had to dry fit it. If I had put glue on this and committed, it's like, oh, it'll be fine. No, it's not fine. It's not fine at all. Okay, I need to take a little bit more off. I am just doing this by eye. There we are. All right. And now as I look at it, yeah, I definitely rotated the piece. If I line everything up, come on, line everything up right. So I got
The front corners are lined up here on this side and over on this side. At the top, that one sticks out from the peak just a tiny bit more than this side. Down here, I'm way off camera, I'm sorry guys. It fell apart, I let go. Down here, they're about the same. So this piece, I'm pretty sure it's this piece, I flipped. Basically, I glued the inside to the outside. I rotated it because I didn't mark it. And this was one of the things that I was considering. Sorry about the camera. This is one of the things I was considering doing, was going through and engraving a letter or a name indication on every piece, because I just ran into the problem myself. Keeping track of which is the outside and which is the inside is important. Thank you for correcting, camera. It hasn't done that in a little while. It's probably the cable's loose. So after I glue the brows on, I could do a lot more rotary tool work, because all the eye cup parts on the back need to be ground down to become the organic shape to fit the face the way that the intent is. And then we'll see how good I did with my my red parts. What do we got? Hey, welcome Aria51. Hey! Morning, just got up, was late working the jetpack for Stompy. Right on, Aria. I was up late working on Ecto Goggles. Now I'm making another pair. DJ Stumpy, great song. Ad Vixen. Speaking of Dan Aykroyd, do you ever get scared of the day when you say Dan Aykroyd and they say, "Who's that?" Pretty much. Coming soon, though. I was so excited when I got hired by the local PBS station here in Sacramento. I was now working for KVIE television station. I watched a lot growing up. That's where I watched that and KTVU. Well, no, that wasn't. It was KTVU was that was a different station. KRON. I can't remember which one it was in the Bay Area, which of the PBSs, but watched a lot of PBS in the Bay Area. So when I moved to Sacramento, continued watching PBS because Sesame Street, Electric Company, Doctor Who, all that stuff, great fun to watch. So finally in 2015, I'm working at PBS. I'm excited about this. I'm happily talking to a cashier at a fast food place when I'm going out to get lunch, and she just says, "What's PBS?" It's like, "Well, it's a station that plays Sesame Street." "What's Sesame Street?" Right, she's the generation that grew up watching Nickelodeon, not PBS. I'm old. All right, fine. Although apparently Sesame Street's going to be on YouTube now, which is pretty cool. I'm glad that it was exciting that HBO got them funding, but much as I thought would happen, that ended very quickly, like 5 years, and they were done. So now it looks like a lot of the Sesame Street programming is going to be available to watch on YouTube, which is really good. Because that's what I grew up with, so I think it's really cool. Is it dated? Yeah, it probably is. So it's okay if you guys don't care. That's fine. Just let the old guy be happy that Big Bird's going to be on TV again. Okay. Got the basic box frame made. Hooray! What I need to do now is more rotary work, so you guys get to listen to more grinding. This is something else I could probably do to speed things up in the live build, is to get this portion pre-done. All of this needs to be ground down to match this line here. So all of these lines need to be ground down to match on both sides. Again, it doesn't take that long, but with mess and time, that's something I probably should pre-do beforehand for the live demo, which means I get to make more goggles this week. That's not a huge shock. Am I wearing this right? Big thing I'm doing here, there's a direction that the bit's going, which is pretty much this type of a direction. So the fine edge here, I'm letting it land on that edge and move away from me. If I go the other way, it'll actually grab the foam and pull it underneath it and ruin this fine edge, which is going to make this side really tricky to do. And I'm not worried about getting it down to being... Glad I'm wearing safety glasses. Something just hit me in the face. I'm not worried about getting it down to being really super, super tiny thin. If it's, you know, half a millimeter or whatever, that's fine. As I say that, I get it really fine, thin anyway. And what's interesting is this piece kind of needs to come off. See, I go this way and it grabs it. Can you see that? You can see that. I'm going to fold this over and kill it. There. That should work out okay. That's close enough for foam. That's way better than that. That'll work out. Now I gotta do is do it again. I am resting the foam against my hand, so it doesn't flex a whole lot. It does get me in danger of actually hitting my hand, which I don't want to do, because I do it intentionally, you know, because how dangerous it is. I can feel it. I can feel that I've put abrasive on my skin, but it's not, I'm not putting enough pressure, and it's not aggressive enough to just immediately cut me. But I'm also an old callous bastard, so that might be in my favor. I see chat moving. Sorry, I'm not as active in chat today. Pull that over and kill it. Come on. My main camera keeps flashing white. Oh, I gotta hold it this way. You know, it goes lighter, like it's having, yeah, you know. Just doing its thing. Alright, so I've got the face shell ground out. Again, I think that went faster than I thought it would, but I'm also distracted in actually doing it, so I don't know, maybe that took 10 minutes for all I know. Let's be careful of those. Now I need to bullnose and round off all the rest of the edges with a slower speed. Less aggressive speed. The glue bugged me. It's gone now. Okay, so I got all these edges bullnosed, and bullnosed enough. They don't need to be, they need to be rounded, right? And they are. They need to be soft, because these are still sharp cut, and these are now soft. It's not just the camera's out of focus. I'm really good at that. That's all intentional. So now I need to do that again on this side. Here's a seam that's not perfect. This piece sticks out, and this piece sticks out, so I'm going to flatten the front part. Right, it's on crooked, what I'm trying to say. So I'm flattening the front edge so it becomes similar. I can kind of hide the back a little bit. Get a piece that's not equal again. Okay. Just for reference, so I'm using my Ryobi. Surprise! I'm using a Ryobi rotary tool. A lot of the bullnosing I'm doing with the dial here that I've got set to 15,000 RPMs. But when I did the heavy grinding to remove stuff, I just bumped it up to 20. And that made it go by a lot faster. So those are the only two speeds I'm using. Is most of my work is being done at 15. And then bump it up to 20. Sorry you can't really see it that well. But yeah, that's all I'm doing. Thought I'd tell you. That's looking like what I want. So what I should do is probably vacuum it. Okay. There's not much more rotary work that I need to do, I don't think. Not a lot. Like almost none, probably. The last thing I need to do to the face cup is glue on the face walls. So the red pieces, right? These pieces need to be glued on. This was a fun one to figure out, and there are two specific parts. I've got an upper piece that has this notch at the top, and it has 6 holes for snaps. And then I have the lower piece that goes along the nose ridge that only has the 2 lower snap pieces. And also because this follows the contour of the nose, it's longer. It's get further away so the camera can see it. It's a longer piece of foam versus the upper piece because it only has to follow a little bit of a curve, right? Since this covers more ground fitting into the nose cutout and back out, where the top is just the forehead, the nose piece is the longer piece. It also has a shorter legs, but that's just because that was the thick part. So all I need to do is glue this on, and it is done to where ideally this corner is really close to gluing into that corner. So it's a little off. The thing is, with each one being hand ground, this angle changes, and there's no way of making that uniform. This edge absolutely goes to this edge. And then if this edge just goes to the end of the thick part, that's pretty much all it needs to do. And so if I dry test this, yep, we're fine. It's a tiny bit over. I'll just cut off the extra fluff on this side. That's exactly where I want it to go. I like when that happens. So let me put some glue on that. And this is, where are we at? This is symmetrical, right? There really isn't a, inside versus outside on it. So I can just put glue on a side and that'll be fine. Symmetrical, what am I thinking? It's like, carpet nap or there's a term for the grain of fabric, but it's not just grain. Like there's the right side, there's the inside and the outside of fabric, and there's a term for it besides right way and wrong way. But anyway, I'm not remembering that because it's too close to lunchtime. Okay. Now those of you who have been watching the channel for a while might recognize that there's some color coordination here. The red foam isn't just because it's red, right? I wouldn't want to use red foam. I'm going to end up having to paint it green. But this red foam is actually 2mm What the foam, which is a higher density foam. It has a higher rubber content. It's a much stronger foam than regular 2mm craft foam. And I'm using that specifically because this piece is only 2mm thick and it has snaps that go into it. I don't intend on using too many snaps, just the side that goes to the head. Yeah, I wanted to be able to use something that was going to be structurally sound enough to deal with it. So I'm going to this edge to this edge and this edge to out of camera to this edge. So this edge to this edge and this edge to this edge. Just kind of visually, just kind of work on it. There it is. Okay, so I've landed my part. I'm committed to going there. I'm going to lay the whole piece down flat. And then I want to just try to roll and walk the foam into it. Here's one of the fun things. I am not pulling on the foam, right? I'm not pulling on the red foam at all because the foam will stretch, and I don't want to make this piece longer than it's cut to be because it won't fit right. Also, a big problem with doing that is it will put tension on this part and twist it and make it warped. And I really don't want to do that. Didn't quite put enough glue on there. I glued it for 6mm foam mentally, forgetting I'm gluing it to a 12mm piece, so it's okay. Got that part put on. You do the same thing to the top. Now this one was a bit of a problem last night trying to get it to work. So again, dry fitting first. It goes on, and look at that, it doesn't quite line up. That's okay. I just got to remember that it's going to be a little bit tall. Dry fitting, it's easy to set, like, here's this side where I want it to be, here's this side where I want it to be. That's great. But then if I did that and then went around to glue it in place, I got a gap. And that would suck. So, yeah, but it looks like it probably would work though. Okay, so, yeah, no, I'm okay. I might be a millimeter off. I'm okay. Again, that's because so much of this got ground by hand, right? This curve changes a little on the outside just from the act of hand doing it. of working on this. So there was no real guarantee. There's no way to guarantee I'm going to have this land exactly where I want it every single time. But that's why you can smush it with foam. Wow, it's been an hour. I've had a lot of cons ask, hey, do you want to do a live demo? Just do like a live build. We'll schedule you an hour. It's like, oh, I forgot to put glue on the bottom edge. Okay, I'm going to stop flipping this around, flopping this around, and I'm going to try to walk the foam, right? I'm bending it and getting it to touch bending it, getting it to touch the top, and try and keep a consistent distance since I'm a little off on where I want it to go. Where? Oh, right, this side was up a little higher. Okay, that's fine. The seam's hidden, right? The seam's hidden, so whatever. All right, where's... trim that. These are covered in duct tape goo from Sac Anime. Okay. It's a Viewmaster. All right. Who remembers what a Viewmaster is? Okay. So I've got the face cup put in now with Odin face grease on it, which would be real good for painting. And what I need to do is put the lens parts on. I am working with foam, so you can see that there are parts that are not square. So this piece I'm actually going to go ahead and super glue on, and I'm going to do it right now. Just going to step aside and find some super glue. I brought some over. There it is. Super glue and foam work really well together. It's a lot like skin and super glue. So it's not a problem using it. It's just not as flexible, like I was trying to say earlier, as contact cement. There's a big old fat bead of it on there. And what I want to do is, there's two sides to this. You can barely see it. There's like a texture on this. It's not just camera stuff. There's like a texture from when this was rolled off at the factory and smushed. And there's another side that's really smooth. So I'm going to put the smooth side out. Put that so it's there. And it's still a little bit wonky. But I know this piece was cut square, right? It is computer square. So the fact that this edge has got a little more gap than that edge, that's human error. And it's flat across the bottom. But once it's all painted, it's not going to matter. Okay. It's still going to take a second to set up. I put it on really thick, so it's actually taking a little bit longer. But still, super glue is a little tiny bit faster than contact cement. These holes in the front, you know, I've got these other cutout holes here. This is where some socket screws can go. Don't really have any small enough here, but you would just glue something like that in. Whoops. But, you know, make it go deeper. A bigger socket head screw, and that would fit in there, because that's all it is in the movie. Something probably more like that. But, you know, I've got a bunch of really long ones left over from the Proton pack. I don't have any short enough. What I'm thinking about doing is just cutting out, taking some 6mm foam and doing a hex pattern as a embossing, as engraving it, but not cutting it all the way through, and then cutting and making some fake sockets that can just glue on, because I think this is a little too much hardware to go out. They're like $2 a piece. All right, so we've got that. That's my basic shell. What I need to do now is make lenses and greebles, and I'm going to start with greebles because I have to cut stuff for the lenses, which is annoying. Sorry. I still get some stuff done. Maybe I will get to some parts for the lenses. So I'm flopping some pieces out. Here we are on 4. For the lens mounts, these will go to the lens plate. There's on the 3D print one that I saw, the base was 6mm thick, or 8mm thick. So this is 4mm foam. No, this is 6mm. This is 3mm foam with a 3mm ring that's just going to go on top of it, that has some of that embossment on it. So this has got engravings on it to give it this ring. You can see it, right? So that's actually dimensional. The light color is higher and lower. And again, I'll just super glue these on. I put these on with contact cement last night, and they ended up not being completely round, which bothered me. Not a big deal. You can't see it until I say it. I mean, you can see it if you look for it, but I'm going to go ahead and just super glue these together. So I've got them, I squished them down, and now I'm rotating it slightly to spread the glue out. And as it gets spread out and thinner, put some pressure on it, and it'll glue fairly quickly. Let me do that again to this side. Blow the dust off. Make sure I'm on camera. Bead of super glue all the way around. You know, a healthy bead of it. Lay it down. I still have movement, so I'm going to twist it, smear the glue, and line up the edge I can see. And now put pressure on it those are looking better than these. With all the other stuff on them, can you see that they're wonky? Yeah, you may not be able to, but trust me, like here I can see there's a millimeter! There's a millimeter difference. And so when they were separate before the lenses got put on, you could really tell that they were a wee bit wonky. And then these parts, I've still got that's kind of cool. I don't just cut out a hole. I actually have to, I do cut out a hole, but it's not just blasting a solid hole. It's tracing a small little circle. So the center point of the circle is still in there. This is totally not needed for the foam because I'm not going to be using a screw to mount those together with. So I get this little tiny guy. This is actually probably ideal. For the rivets that go on the top over here. I'm going to need like a sewing needle. This might be sharp enough. Yeah, there we go. Oh god, that's a ton of glue. Oh, this is going to glue to my finger. That's why I want to get a sewing needle, so I could have a sewing needle stuck to it before I did this. Come on, let go. Alright, I got an idea. Next time I'll put the glue on the goggles first. There. Oh, I moved it. There we go. Alright. Is this texture... No! This texture is not necessary. This is one of those fun things for me. What do these do? Nothing. This is leftover texture from something that was removed. So I'm going out of my way to glue on something that isn't there anymore. Sort of. To represent something that isn't there anymore. Alright, so that's the leftover rivets from the serial number tag that was originally on the original night vision goggles. This piece goes on to where the holes, if you had screws, right, if you were actually, then they would line up so they could move slightly for focus. That's not really important, but it was fun for me to put them on there, so I left it on there. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to put some glue on it and then try to line it up so I can see the holes through the adjustment slots because, that's fun. And then I'm also just trying to center the circles. Yeah. There we are. So yeah, you can see that all the... Gosh dang it, this is hard to do. What am I trying to do? I'm trying to get a contrast color so you can see that all the holes are still there, but by the time I get the last one put in place, light gets in the way. Shadow gets in the way. I'm realizing I'm making a mistake. I shouldn't glue these on. I'm all excited and gluing on. This is a mistake. This part is specifically part of the lens. And so this part should be separate so it could be painted black. I'm excited and I'm just building and having fun. And I forgot that. So, not a big deal. With this piece, the next bits of lenses, I got to remember to not glue them on yet so I can paint all those separate. and then these pieces will have to be painted black. I think the entire face plate is black anyway, if I remember right. So not a big deal, but yeah. Anyway, there. Now it looks even more like, you know, a VR boy or something. I'm not going to hold that up to my face at the moment because the super glue fumes are going to suck. So there's that. Let's make the focus knobs that go on the sides. There's one that goes here, and there's one that goes here, and then there's the power, the battery cap that goes down here. So let's get those parts put together because those pieces are ready to go. What I've got for the focus pieces are, I've cut myself out a disc of 4mm foam and a donut of 4mm foam. Again, the hole really doesn't matter because I'm going to glue this just flat to the surface later. These are painted black. But that was just kind of the way the 3D file was, so I copied it. So I'm going to go ahead and glue these together. First, this is a two-step process. I can just super glue this. This doesn't flex. Spin it around a few times. Get the edges to match up. And it doesn't matter a whole lot if this centerpiece seam disappears. I'm going to cover it in a minute. So set that down. And I'm going to do a donut of glue so I can put. So you get some wiggle room at first. I'm just trying to smear the glue around. These pieces I happen to cut out of 4mm wet the foam as well because I wanted a tougher lens mount piece. So this piece is wet the foam. These guys, since they happen to be the same diameter as the inside of the lens, they're wet the foam as well. Okay, so those two are glued together. Now, I realize I didn't talk about my parts to begin with, so something I thought about doing. The edges of these need to have knurling. Knurling is the texture like what's on the side of, where did it go? This is a type of knurling, which you can't see at all, can you? I can't see it. I mean, you probably can't see it. This diamond plate, so you get a grip on it. This is a type of knurling. It's a machining thing. It's to give you some grip. And so the outside edges of these end up having a bit of a grip on them. Can you see it there? Yeah, you can see the lines. Those lines are actually dimensional. They're not just pencil lines. I did that by first laser etching the line texture onto the piece of foam and then going back and cutting out a strip. This is the first dry run to see if this strip fits around the circumference of this piece. And it just needs to be really close. And it does. It fits just fine. I didn't even have to stretch it. It needs to be really close. If I was like a millimeter shy, you could pull on it slightly to make it go all the way around, but I'm fine. It fit. I'm happy. I'm going to use some super glue again. Actually, super glue is not good for this. This would have been better with contact cement. Let's smear this around. And my finger clear. Okay, super glue worked pretty good actually. The hole is great if 6mm wooden dowel. You could actually peg it if you wanted to in order to get it to fit exactly where you want it. But honestly, looking, because again, the night vision, there's a gap, right? Because it's a functional rotating piece. The Ghostbusters prop, it's flat up against it, but they're black. So I'm gonna not glue this on. Odin, don't glue that on yet, and because I want to paint this black. But what I need to do is glue the other one. Again, this is something I could get pre-done, right? I only have to do one of these live. The other one could be done. It would save a small amount of time, but a lot of small amount of times is going to add up. And I'm sure any small amount is going to help. So, okay, I'm calling it the focus wheels, the focus knobs. I don't know what they are exactly. These actually lined up so well. That's my joint seam for the piece wrapped around it, right there. And on this side, it's there. So, can you see the slightly darker line? When I get it towards the edge, it's easier for me to see here where it's catching the shadow. That's the seam for it going all the way around. So I got a really good knurl equal all the way around. This one, the first one, you can totally see where the seam is, right? You can see it right there. Same thing on this side. So much better job getting this figured out. For the again, for the battery cover, right? This is the piece you would unscrew to drop out the specialized oversized C-cell, whatever the hell it was. It was a weird special military battery. This piece ended up being too big. I think I added parts kind of willy-nilly at the end. So instead of having this 4 millimeter piece on top of a 10 millimeter piece with an offset from the body, I'm going to just use a flat 10 millimeter piece, put the knurling on it, and glue it flat to the body. And that's going to reduce its height by almost 6 millimeters, which is a lot, because this shouldn't stick out past the cheek plate here. But also, this cheek plate, which is patterned off the 3D model, was lower than the one that I saw on Dan Aykroyd's. So I actually changed the file this morning to increase the cheek piece just a little bit. So with this one, all I need to do is glue the diamond knurling. So this is the same thing that I did with the linear knurling, but this is more like the X-Acto blade. I made a crosshatch pattern that kind of looks like that redwood garden latticing, and so it engraved that on top of the foam first, and then cut my my rectangle out, and that gives me the diamond plate knurling piece. And this is also I caught it just on the edge, so I'll just leave it alone. This one may end up having a gap because my 10 millimeter round was right on the edge of the foam. I didn't target it very well, this clear spot here. So it's got a lump on it that may not... let it glue together very well. And then also intentionally, this knurling strip is thinner than the foam. The foam's 10 millimeter, the knurling strip is like 7. So it's you end up having extra pieces on the side. Look, I talked my way through it, and the glue dried while I wasn't paying attention. Big old gap. Is that gonna peel free? Oh yeah. Okay. So this time I'm going to grab it and put a little bit of tension on it, while I'm peeling it around, I am pulling on the red so I can make sure I can get my ends to match up better. I've stretched it just a little bit. Now I'm stuck here holding it until it dries. Until it dries. Again, I'm going to leave this piece off and I'm going to paint it separately. It's green. I believe this is green, or it might be green with a black rubber grip. Either way, to paint it better, I'm going to leave it off separate. There is another detail piece that goes on top of it, and I'm not sure how I want to do that. Okay. Odin, you're hungry. You're thinking faster than you're explaining. So, with the cap piece, with the original, I'm pretty sure, with the original night vision goggles, there was a captive piece of leather or rubber that went from the end of the piece so it could spin underneath it, and that attached it, like your gas cap is attached to your car, to one of these screw mounts on the goggle piece, right? So you could unscrew it, and it would say attach, and you wouldn't lose it in the dark. That is not present, but the little mushroom cap that's supposed to go on the end is. On this piece, I've got... I'll probably just use it again. It bugs me, though, because it makes a noise. But it shouldn't bother me. It'll probably stop when I paint it. This is the end of a snap. And honestly, that's probably the best thing to still use because it's just easiest. So all I'm going to do is grab the end of a 4mm snap. And I'm just going to use that to be... I shouldn't say snap. This is a rivet. This is a leather-working rivet, and it is the type that both sides are pretty, right? So both sides have a cap on it because some rivets have just like a hole, whereas this one's got a smooth side on both sides because it's meant to be able to be seen from either side. This is what I used for... Oh, that hole's too big. Great job, Odin. Put in the hole, make sure there's a gap. I'm holding it against the side. There we are. And that's what I want to use to represent that little piece that captures and makes the makes it so you don't lose your battery cover. Put a little drop of glue from this side into the hole. That should run down and catch on everything else. I'm not seeing it run out yet. This is an accelerant. It is a chemical that makes super glue set up nearly instantly. It also makes it very hot. So, yeah, there we are. What's funny is I can hold the top of the rivet, the part that rattles, and still make everything spin, even though the base of it is now very much captive and caught in place. So, yeah. Kind of like that. And so this is going to represent my battery cover, and that goes on the bottom of the cheek here. This should just be a small Phillips screw, and that's just a small Phillips screw that can be added after painting. So this just goes on there. And they'll probably set it so my seam is towards the cheek. Guys gotta remember to do that when that time comes. And that's the battery cover. But again, I want to paint this separate from the body, so I don't want to glue this on yet. Okay, I'm at 2 o'clock. What I need to do are the lenses, right? I don't know if I can do this in like 25 minutes really quick. What I've intentionally done for the sake of repeatability is to base my lenses off of PVC pipe, specifically Schedule 200 PVC pipe, which is the thinner walled PVC pipe. This is a 3/4 inch, which is actually wider on the outside. The 3/4 inch size refers to the size
The inside diameter, if it was a Schedule 40 PVC pipe, which the walls are thicker. I don't have an example here for what a Schedule 40 pipe is versus these Schedule 200 pipes. But trust me, the wall's twice as thick. So I need a piece of this for the small lens, the smallest lens. There it is. Oh man, there. So this is this pipe, and this pipe, as well as the pipes inside of here, are all the same. Those are all 1-inch Schedule 200 pipes, which I'll actually have to run inside to get. So and I wrote down what I want. For the 3/4 inch piece, I want a 39 millimeter part, 39 millimeter piece. I've got a factory edge here. Get this out to be 39 millimeter. Being real super exact with it, as if it matters, because I'm going to walk over to the bandsaw and cut this out, and it's not even going to be straight. And I can actually score the pipe with the sharp end of the calipers up here. The bottom end, I'm setting the pipe on, and then the top end, I'm scoring. Can you see the score? Can the camera see it? Not really. Come on, Bob, give me a hand. So there, can you? Yeah, that's putting pencil where the score is. Then wipe it off at the top. Can you see the line? No, you can't. It's blown out. Yeah, you can. In the shadow, ever so barely, you can see the line. So that's my 39. That's how long this skinnier piece is, because it goes all the way down inside, right? It's not just what you see. It goes down inside a little bit. So I need to cut this piece off, and then I need to go and grab some 1-inch pipe. I need to cut 3 pieces of 1-inch pipe, and we can make some lenses. But I have to walk off screen because I don't have a camera set up for the bandsaw. Okay, got that part. That's fine. My belt sander's on the floor, so I just rubbed this on the belt sander while it was turned off. Okay, so I got that part. I need to go grab a pipe. Sorry. Okay, 1-inch Schedule 200 PVC pipe. I need to cut one at 30 millimeters, one at 35 millimeters, and one at 26 millimeters. At least they're all the same. Do I need to scratch it all the way around? No, I really don't. It's kind of nice, but can I get this into the bandsaw? Okay. I'll use a PVC cutter to make a smaller piece that I can get into the bandsaw. I find that I'm not
always able to get a straight enough cut with these. Of course that is. So it's not my go-to tool for cutting small specific lengths. I'll give it a shot. Okay, it's wonky, but it's not that wonky. What do you mean by wonky, Odin? It's not flat. It's on an angle. Okay. So the biggest issue is once it's on an angle and I make marks and keep going, it's just going to get worse, right? Sorry, I haven't been paying attention. TV's okay. Viewmaster! These are beasts. Gluing on what you took off, so I bet this is getting to you, huh? Yeah, alright. Well, I'm glad it's that is a good color. He says sorry, like he has a show to do or something. Spin the cutters while you cut. Okay, I can try that. It really doesn't want to. I'm actually kind of amused at how that landed. Okay. Okay, spin the cutters. Seem to do pretty good. Thank you, GZ123. Thank you for 2 reasons. 1, thank you for a good tip. And 2, thank you for hanging out with us. Sticking around till this long. One more. I need 26. Okay. There's my line. I didn't spin it. Because my habit's not to spin it. But still, that ended up being pretty... Okay. Most of those were pretty square. One wasn't, so good. That worked out okay. Lenses. Much like the little detail pieces for the focus knobs, the lenses are going to end up requiring layers of 2mm foam wrapped around them in order to get the different sizes and shapes. As an example, here's one of the 3D printed ones. This is the rings on the bottom, which you there in the shadow you can kind of see the texture. That's what goes here, right? So that's that piece, and then the lens sticks out of it. The 1-inch PVC isn't quite big enough, right? It's actually smaller, but it was close. So by wrapping 2 layers of 2mm foam around it, I can increase the overall diameter by 8mm, right? Because I put 1 on, that's the wrong piece. I put 1 on, and I've increased it by 2mm on this side and 2mm on that side for a total of 4. And then by wrapping a second piece on it, you do the same thing again, and you end up increasing the diameter by 8, because now it's 4 on this side and 4 on that side. And that ends up being the diameter that I want for the lenses, at least the way that I made them. I did modify as necessary to get these things to work. I need to sand. I need to put a tooth onto... Did I not bring those out? I thought I did. You got a rotary tool, Odin? Yeah, but I was trying to find sandpaper because for whatever reason I wanted to use sandpaper. I'm not going to run back inside again. That's just not going to happen. All right. PVC pipe is smooth. And it's also got a high vinyl content. That's what the V is in PVC. Polyvinyl, whatever the heck it is. So by scarring up the outside, by giving it a tooth, right, you're going to allow the glue to be able to stick to it much better. So that is very specifically what I'm trying to do here. Hello, chat. Okay. Oh, stepped on it. There it is. Nope, I only stepped on my vacuum cord. All right, or vacuum hose. That one's clear. The other thing I need to worry about when it comes time to paint these, this marking on PVC pipe floats to the surface of spray paint. Floats to the surface of almost every spray paint. So I'm going to want to take a little bit of acetone and remove that before I paint it, or else V22 is going to appear on everything I do. Somewhere down here I've got... I'm not busy pointing my good side towards the camera. Somewhere down here I've got some acetone. 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 Which pipe is it? It's... Yeah, well, yeah, that one was okay because that one doesn't have any markings. This one does, so I just need to... And that's probably good enough. It's still stained. You got the very hint of the original manufacturer print on there. Actually, this also did really good at killing the gloss on it. Should give it a second for it to finish drying. But now that ink won't float when I do spray paint on this later. If you've ever worked with PVC pipe, you ever tried to spray paint PVC pipe, you probably know what I mean by the ink floating to the surface of the paint. It comes through primer, it comes through black, it comes through everything. It never goes away. But this piece I'm going to cover with contact cement, so I don't care. Checking time, sorry. Oh, okay, good. If you guys don't mind sticking with me another 20 minutes or so, should be able to get the lenses pretty much done to the point of, hey, I can paint them now. Okay. Gotcha. Again, numbering these would be a good for me, right? I didn't do it, but it'd be a really smart idea. There's a certain order in which these have to go on. In order to wrap a PVC pipe with 2 layers of 2mm foam, the first layer has to go on. You can see the burning on the edge here from the laser cut. It's actually smaller. You see how the shorter piece is wider on either side? That's because this piece is cut to go around the circumference of the outside of the pipe, and this piece is cut to go around the circumference of the pipe plus a layer of foam. So at first, I'm going to add glue to this piece. Then, nope, those are the top pieces. This is the other end piece. Because the lenses are different lengths, but they're the same diameters. Even on the 3D model, the lenses were the same diameters. Just one happened to be 5mm longer than the other one. So the squares end up being the same width, because they're wrapping around the same diameter of pipe. Yeah, there we go. Sticking. Fingers are covered in glue. Come on, let go. Let go. Ah, you stuck to the other one. I knew you would. So one pipe is definitely taller than the other, but not by much, right? Can you see that? Yeah, okay. So I'm going to put this one on first, which means I need the taller piece of foam. And I'm rolling it around, trying to keep it pretty close to the bottom. Not terribly worried about it being close to the bottom. And I'm giving it yeah. I don't want to say that I'm pulling on it. I am. I'm really trying not to, because I tried my best to get this to be the right size. And it's not exactly, but it's close. It's real close. So at the very end, I actually push with my thumb to get the seam to close up a little better. This is a big way I made a lot of my Lego pieces too. So did Dan. Hey, Dan! So then this. A little push with the thumb at the end to make the sides, make the seam match up better. I'm going to bury this one right now with another layer. So does it matter? No, but it's practice. Okay, and then I need to... All right. So these squares are not only a little bit longer to be able to wrap around the now wider diameter pipe with foam on it, but they're a little bit taller because they need to capture the next stage of lens that goes on top of it. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to not line it up with that line. I'm going to offset it. Am I on screen? No. So you see I got some overhang, right? And I just want to roll this on. Without stretching it. And probably should have. It's about 1 millimeter shy. The last one was about 1 millimeter shy too. Not a big deal. I'm going to need to cut more anyway. So Odin, try to remember to make these 1 millimeter longer. That's effectively it for the lower lens. If you look at the 3D print model, it's just a cylinder. It has this little square on it. This is where that thumb screw goes. Am I out of focus? Probably. That's where the thumb screw goes. I don't have that cut. But this piece would then just attach to whichever side it goes on. But I'm not gluing those on yet. These, I'm purposefully not going to glue on yet. So I can set that aside. And then this lens, same thing. I'm going to, here's my seam. I'm going to offset the seams because I don't want to cross the streams. Yeah, definitely got to increase those by 2 millimeter probably. Alrighty, I got a note. So I've got the 2 base lenses. The next lenses up are actually a little bit easier. There's a shorter lens, and that only has 1 little layer of 2 millimeter foam, and that's it. And that's all there is to the next lens, other than there's a ring and the little thing at the top. But the ring that goes around the top has less. Can you see it? Can I get the light to catch it so you can get my finger out of the way so you can see it? But the ring has less, you can kind of see it. It's only about 1 millimeter thicker, right? This little ring right up here. And so the foam is too thick, effectively. I suppose it doesn't have to be. I'm sure nobody but me cares. And then the other lens has a wider base, and it's got like a double shoulder, so I'm going to need to... Sorry, that was probably all off screen. I'm getting tired. what Evil Ted told you. Smear it out. Make it smooth. Move the part from underneath what you're doing so you don't drip on it. Because you'll drip on it. Just like that. I would have tripped on it. Okay. So this thin piece will go on the shorter, wider lens. Try to get a little glue on the edge, a little glue on the edge, but it's actually captured inside, so that seam doesn't really matter. And then this is the same thing where each one goes around a layer of, oh, wow, is it really this way? Come here. So each one's getting longer. This edge down here that you can't see, is all lined up square. So this one's the shortest, this goes to the pipe, and then this wraps around those two layers, and then this one that's the longest will wrap around these three layers, this being the base layer of what I'm counting as one. So 1, 2, whatever, 1, 2, 3, something like that. Home stretch, guys. Now, realistically, I could, if it'll let go of me, come on, let go! Start doing the other ones, and they can start drying while I'm working. This one I want to get on the edge. I want to get on the edge because this edge will be visible. Set it down. And this guy. That, and set that aside. Sorry, I'm off screen. Just know that I'm fighting with the invisible spider webs of the glue sticking to my fingers because that's what happens. All right, this guy's almost good enough. So this problem with having everything stick to your hands while I'm gluing to it, I mean, that happens when you're wearing gloves as well, but I swear it's 10 times worse with gloves, and partly why I get really annoyed with them when working with glue. What's funny is I prefer wearing gloves when I'm painting and working with a bunch of other stuff that gets icky, and I want it off my hands, but for gluing, yeah, anyway. Welcome to the weirdness of Odin. And that's really all there is to this guy, except for it also has, let me get the 3D ones. It has the ring on the edge and this little set square, which I have yet to cut these out. I can just do this out of 4mm foam because they're about 4mm tall and they're about 5mm square. So if I do that little tiny piece with a hole in the middle of it, I can glue that on the side, and that becomes a peg where the adjustment piece goes. But my issue is this less than a millimeter ring that goes around the edge. I can always just say screw it and let it be 2mm. I could put on maybe a couple pieces of heater tape. It's probably the best idea. But anyway, so that's as far as I'm going to go with this today. Now this piece,
Squishy. Now I gotta get glue on the outside of this. Take some of the excess off. I really like the Ryobi heat guns. They're well, battery operated, which is nice as long as the batteries don't die. But the big thing is they don't get hot enough to blister and melt the foam, which also means they're not going to get hot enough to blister and melt paint necessarily. But they're plenty hot enough for shrink tubing, and they're plenty hot enough to heat up the foam for shaping. But they're not hot enough to burn and scorch the foam. So also, they're not nearly as hot if you happen to hit yourself in the finger with it. So yeah, huge like, thumbs up on the Ryobi heat guns. Okay, one more strip. Again, make sure that I'm going to put my new piece without this seam lining up with that seam. So here's a fun question someone could ask. Odin, you put 2 layers of 2mm foam on here, right? I did a first layer and a second layer of 2mm. Why didn't you just do 4mm once and be done? Because the seams. I found with building these up for doing like the Lego props specifically, that by multiple layers of 2mm foam, this little seam that ends up on the side ends up being far more controllable, and I don't end up with a pucker at the end because the foam is so thick it's fighting from being a total round, and it just ended up being so much cleaner and easier. I really got to prefer that over just brute forcing it with the right size thickness the first time, for lack of a better term. And that's why I did this in multiple layers, and why these were done in multiple layers. Although these were also done in multiple layers because I wanted an edge to be able to catch these. Now I've got glue on the inside and I got fresh glue here, so the chances that the lenses are going to end up sticking to each other's pretty high, but that's mostly okay. What I noticed with the reference images, the tallest lens has the tallest secondary lens, and the short main lens has the shortest main lens. Wow, that's totally off screen. So the tallest main lens has the tallest secondary lens, and the shortest main lens has the shortest secondary lens. And all they do is just fit inside. That's it. Good enough. And then this one just fits inside. That's it. And then this would fit on... No, that's actually right. So the tallest lens goes on the side of the battery cover, which I've actually managed to do right just by... I guess I had a 50-50 chance. And then the other lens goes on there. Let me turn my focus assist off. Come on, focus assist. There we go. And you end up with, yeah. I got my finger stuck inside, or trying to, because I don't have the lenses glued on. But yeah, that's that's my chameleon Ecto Goggles. So the only others, I'm not gluing these together because the base unit is olive drab. The knobs, The battery cover knob has got too much detail for me to actually do all at once. I'd rather paint it all at drab first and then paint the outside ring black. So that's separate. The focus knobs that go for each of the side lenses, these are solid black. Be easier to paint those separate from the military green of this. And then the lenses, the big base lenses are black on both of them. So both the short and the tall base lenses are black. The secondary lenses, I'd have to double check. The long one is silver for sure. I think they're both silver, but one I think is maybe solid silver and the other one's silver and black. Something like that. Anyway, I've got notes written down so I don't have to remember. The last thing I did laser cut out that I'm not going to be able to put on yet, not until I have parts painted, I did cut out an 1/8 inch piece of acrylic to use as a lens because it's fun to have the light reflection of actually having the glass in there. Now, if you put these on your forehead, they're going to fog up. That's just the way that works. This one was actually cut a little better, and it is a much tighter fit, even more so this time. What's fun is the inside diameter of PVC pipe doesn't have to be consistent. They've got a tolerance. The outside needs to be a specific size so it fits with fittings. But the inside diameter only has to be, you know, within a range. So this one's fitting well enough. I took a 4mm piece. This is something that dropped out of another circle I cut. Put that on the table so I could push the lens up against it. And now it's set back 4mm, and I've got a lens in place. Don't super glue this, Odin, because it'll fog up like the other one did, right? That's because of super gluing. See the difference? Yeah, that's the joy of super glue. So to glue this in, I can either use a solvent glue or, you know, I could even just use white glue. I could use silicone caulking. You know, anything like that will hold this in place without crazing the lid. Looks like I need to increase the diameter of this lens piece by probably 0.5 millimeter, and then that should have a much better friction fit than it does now to stick in place. But that's my Ecto Goggles. That's all the pieces that I've got designed so far glued together. I do intend on gluing in, well, I'll actually hammer in snaps, right? Because these snaps on the side that actually hold it to the head need to be functional. Most of these others are kind of decorative. The screws are all decorative. So whatever, I can glue those in. But at this point, I could paint this, and that's where I wanted to be. So I want to thank everybody for hanging out with me today as I streamed for 3 hours, especially to my Patreon members who came on early. For any of you who are still here who aren't my incredibly patient moderators, thank you two very much for helping out with this. You two hang out and do this, especially you, Dan. You do this for the fun of it, for the love of it, and I really appreciate it, dude. You spend a lot of time being a moderator on my live streams, and thank you very much. If anybody wants to see more about Dan Does Junk, he's one of the blue moderators, please check out his channel on YouTube called Dan Does Junk. He's actually done a full-blown Gundam suit. He started a second Gundam suit, and he's now in process of starting a Megazord, I think. Could be saying that wrong. But he's got another large mech suit that he's going to be building on, as well as he's a very talented cosplayer, builder, and somebody I'm really happy to call my friend. And then also thank you very much, Shop Gremlin, for putting up with me all the time and being the secondary moderator, as well as bringing the safety glasses out to me earlier when I needed them. Let me check some chat really quick. You're welcome, Dan. Thank you. Ralph has been here the whole time. Thank you, Ralph. Museum Dave loves the chameleon lenses. Thank you. Yeah, seal the driveway. Oh, okay. You guys are talking to each other. That's awesome. You could take some 2mm foam and gently stretch it so it thins out a bit for that ring. I could, but that doesn't seem consistent. And if I was to make this as a kit that I could give somebody else, that feels like not something easy to explain in instructions, right? It needs to be a little easier to do than that. Cutting it out of styrene would actually be perfect. If I cut this out of a strip of styrene plastic, that would be a fine thickness. Styrene easily glues to PVC. You can glue it with PVC glue. I should try gluing acrylic with PVC glue and see if acrylic... Wow, I'm getting excited. I should try gluing clear acrylic with PVC glue and see if the PVC glue crazes the clear acrylic like the way a super glue does. Because if it doesn't, that's probably exactly the answer, is to cut a thin strip of plastic to be that ring, as well as the peg. And then the thumb screw, there's some thoughts on it. We 3D printed parts, which are great. They look great. They're wrong. Again, they're right probably to what the night vision goggles were. They're wrong for Ray's goggles in the hotel scenes for Ghostbusters. They're too long. Easy enough to fix. What I was thinking about doing was, I have a little tiny bit of aluminum welding rod left. I can cut this down into pieces, and then I can just laser cut a 6mm circle of foam with an etched circle in it, so it becomes a little on the end of it, and then this gets stuck on it, and there you go. You've got your thumb screw adjustment screw with cheap parts that are easy to do instead of buying hardware from the hardware store or Amazon, which I actually looked at. I ended up with like an $80 Amazon cart to try and get, well, I want that snap, and I want that D-ring, and I want that thumb screw, and I want that, and I start looking at the cost, like it's going to be $80 to get all these little fiddly bits. I'm going to frickin' make them. So, I frickin' made them. With some scraps I already had on hand. I think I lost my acrylic sheets in the move. Museum Day. Thanks, Odin. No, you're welcome. You're a great community to be part of. Thank you, Sean Karg. Yeah, you guys are great. I love spending Sundays here. Thank you, Sean Karg. So, to go back to what Dan was saying, I know that there's going to be lots of different ways you can make your Ecto Goggles from Ghostbusters, whether it's 3D printed or made out of cut sheets of foam. But this is how Odin makes. Thank you all very much. Super very much. Slightly different type of live stream. Hope you liked it. Hope it worked out. Really good information for me. Way too long-winded. I got to make sure that I got some... I need to hit... Like, this is how you do this part. And then you get to this part. And I need to get that really dialed in. So next week, I don't go overtime. I don't think the con will complain. But I don't want people to get bored and wander off. So... that's what I got to be aware of. Anyway, thank you all for tuning in. I'll be back in 2 weeks. I know I'm going to be seeing at least one of you next week in Carson City, Nevada. But absolutely, if you're anywhere near Carson City, Nevada next weekend, KaboomCon is happening in Carson City, Nevada. It's going to start Friday night. We're going to actually see, it starts, they're doing a viewing of Ghostbusters 2. I haven't seen that movie in like decades. So I'm looking forward to actually seeing it with a bunch of people. That should be a lot of fun. A lot of fans. I'm going to be taking one proton pack with me. Felicia's going to have the other one because she might be going to CrockerCon here in Sacramento next Sunday. And on the same Sunday KaboomCon is happening, CrockerCon is expanding from being a night con only to all-day Sunday. Or, more or less, like 11 to 6 or 11 to 5. So it's going to be 6 hours long, which is kind of a normal Lodi Con time, instead of the 3 hours that CrockerCon's been in the evening, which is really cool. So if Felicia wants to go, going to hook up with her and make sure she has a proton pack and her jumpsuit so she can go and have fun and get to talk to the Sacramento Ghostbusters. I'm going to take a proton pack with me to go to KaboomCon because Ghostbusters flavored, and as well as a jumpsuit. I don't have any patches yet. Felicia and I talked about laser cutting patches from foam because that seems like what we should do, and I kind of have to agree that seems like what we should do. So that was a plan. I don't think I'm going to spend the time doing that before KaboomCon because my time is going to be better spent getting this demo dialed in. The last thing I talked about that I posted on my Instagram was, would any of you have any interest if I was to make these as a kit? If I was to put all the pieces, like all the pieces needed to put this together, the little bits of styrene, the little bits of, because I'm only talking about making like maybe 10, and I've got enough parts to do that. Put the D-ring, put the cut pieces of, would that have any interest to you? Would that have any value to you? If it was just the foam, right? If it was just the foam and just the PVC, I could see it easily being like a $25 kit. But once you're adding in all these other parts that have a higher cost per piece, it's probably going to be more like a $35 kit. As a question, do you guys think that's too much? You know, because there's the time that I did it, but I'm trying to not really charge a lot for time on that. Does that feel like too much as a foam model kit, basically, to get a pair of Ecto Goggles that you could put together? The last thing I have to do to that is make instructions, because I'm going to have instructions go into that kit as well. As a thought. Let me know in the comments. Let me know on Discord. And thank you all very much. An intriguing idea. Yay, this has been great. Instructions should just be a build video. I agree, Dan. Comments start popping in when I was getting ready to turn off, which is great. Now I got interactions. Instructions should just be a build video. Dan and I have talked about this, and this was my original plan when I did my patterns. There was no instructions included with the patterns because the video was the instructions. Giving the pattern away for free, but not giving step-by-step instructions, encouraged you to watch my video again, which I would get monetization from your viewing. And Dan's right. But at the same time, I'm kind of tempted to make instructions. But yeah, okay. Maybe a little both. Yeah, you could totally do a video instruction video. He says without checking package cost. Yes, the instructions is the video. QR code. All right, Ad Vixen. We're all done with, yep, instructions should be video. That's fantastic. Yeah, without checking the package cost. Right. The initial thing with the foam that I've got feels about right based off a couple of things. One of them is I've seen someone else do it, and that was their price point was $25. That was for Thor helmet, or specifically the Mighty Thor's helmet. So that felt like that should be okay. But of course, yeah, anyway, I don't know. It was a thought. I don't want to do too many because I'll probably be bringing them all back home with me. Anyway, thank you all. That's a good price. Thanks, Shady. Thank you all very much. I really should just say good night and turn this thing off and go have some lunch. Let me get my zoom back out to where it should be because I am totally in the wrong size. There we go. All right, go get lunch. Shut up. Let my mods go. And RYX93, if you're still watching, thank you very much for the super chats. 22 of you are still here. You guys are freaking awesome. Thank you all very much. See you in 2 weeks.